Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Vishnu Keeriyat and today we are gonna make a custom vignette and I'm gonna teach you on how to use a vignette inside your edit. Okay, so before we get into the edit, let's discuss about what is a vignette. Vignette is usually used by editors to enhance the focus of something or drive the focus of the audience to something in the video. Okay, so essentially what vignette looks like is a circular or more kind of oval shape, more kind of a earth. Essentially what it does is drive the audience focus to a particular subject inside the scene. So that's what vignette does. So what's the concept behind any kind of vignette? Essentially, human eyes tend to follow from darkness to light. If you are in any kind of, situation in real world, you could see that our eyes are more driven to the brighter areas than the dark. So this is the concept behind vignettes. So we are darkening the corners so that the brighter area would be in the center or would be where we need the audience to focus. Okay, let's first take some reference video so that I can make you understand a little bit clearer. Okay, let's take this video. This video is by Cotton Pro, and a lot of videos which I have made from which I've taken from stock videos is from this guy, and this guy is really pretty good in taking videos and the compositions are really great. So this is a dance video which he has shot. Let's only use this part and I'm just dragging it to the timeline, and you can see this is the video that we are going to add a vignette. So let's make a basic vignette from scratch in Resolve. In order to do that, just jump to the color page and we are going to add an extra node. So in order to add an extra node, all you have to do is press Ctrl and S. You have add an extra node. Now we need to have a vignette. So in order to add a vignette, what we have to do is go to this mask tool. Take a circular mask, stretch it out, nothing has happened. That is because we never had darkened any portion. So in order to make a custom vignette, what you have to do is reduce the midtones. If you reduce the shadows and highlights, it's a bit creepy, but it will play if situation of that genre rises. But usually what standard vignette is to reduce the midtones so that every portion, the highlights and the shadows will be reduced. So let's just reduce the midtones by a little bit. Actually, that's too much, right? Okay, that's cool. So that we can know where the vignette is actually working. Now here, vignette is actually working in the center portion. I don't need the vignette to be actually working in the center portion. So I need the vignette to come from the sides or come from the corners. So in order to do that, we just need to invert the mask. So how do we invert the mask? Just press this button here and voila, it's inverted. But you can see that the mask is kind of really having a hard edges. How do we soften it? You can add a softening by two ways: by pulling this soften one value and changing it to your liking, or by pulling this red small dot here and adding the softness as you like. Now this is a vignette which I like. I think this is more than enough, and let's see what's our effect. Okay, I'm just selecting this, I'm putting it into the full screen, and let's see. This is with the vignettes and this is without the vignettes. A really subtle change, right? Let's add a vignette again and without the vignettes. A really subtle change, okay? Now, vignettes, as I said, is usually in a circular shape. That doesn't mean it has to be in an oval shape every time. What I mean is, the major misconception that editors have nowadays is that vignettes are only used to, bring darkness to the four corners every time. That's not true. That's because we can also use gradient vignettes. That's the beauty of making a custom vignette, okay? So before we take the custom vignettes, we have actually made this vignette by pressing almost like 6 keys. We have made the mask, we have added the softness, we have turned down the midtones, we have adjusted the position, and this is how we make a custom vignette out of scratch in Resolve. So the advantage of a custom vignette is that you can change the focus point to anywhere, make the softness anything, and also make the size anything that you want. That is the point of making a custom vignette, so that you can even have a vignette like this. Okay, so this is not really mandatory way to make a vignette. If you are actually only needing a site, now this is a custom vignette that we have actually made. It's not mandatory to make a custom vignette every time, because it's kind of a long process. Even if you want to copy, you need to fix it to the scene. So Davinci actually gives you a free vignette option inside their FX pack. So in order to do that, I'm actually adding another node, Control and S, and just go to the Open FX. If you don't have this on your color tab, it's easy. Just click this Open FX and it will show up, and go to the search bar and search for vignettes. You have vignette here, and just drag and drop to the new node. Now you can see there is a basic and advanced vignette. Basic is very good. Advanced is having a little bit of more features, like if you can change this to a triangle, or it can be a hexagonal. I'm just going for the basic outline so that you can see that there is a Davinci Resolve vignette, pre-made vignette inside their OpenFX. It's pretty cool. For my taste, I usually increase the size and increase the anamorphism. What anamorphism is like, have you heard of anamorphic lenses and anamorphic images? It's pretty much an image which is a square which is stretched to 16:9 ratio. So it's not really complicated. If you don't want to study that, it's kind of a geeky stuff inside camera. Let's not discuss that today. Let's just increase the softness a little bit, and this is before and this is after we have added the Davinci Resolve vignettes. Okay, now what is the downfall of not making a custom vignette? Okay, let's see. I'm just deleting both of my nodes, and we have a clean slate here. Okay. Now we have actually learned that vignettes are supposed to be oval, and it supposed to darken the corners to give the subject which is in the center more focus. Okay, now let's de-learn or unlearn what we have actually learned. Okay, now I'm adding a new node, Control and S as usual, and let's see we can use gradient mask to add a vignette. This is not the traditional vignette, but it is really effective and really a stylistic choice. Okay, now as I told you, we need to reduce the midtones to see where the vignette is actually making. But in this scene, you can see that the window portion is providing light. Now if I am darkening it here, it's kind of an awkward thing, or it's kind of a stylistic thing. But for me as an editor, now I really want to enhance what Cotton Bro has actually shot. So I'm just reversing the gradient upside down and putting it down somewhere here. Now you can see there is an arrow here. So arrow is essentially the softness parameter. If you drag the arrow up or increase the length of the arrow, your softness will increase. If you reduce it to 0, you have a really harsh edge. I don't want that much harsh edge, and I don't want it to be really soft. So I'm putting it somewhere here, and I'm adding it here. Okay, now we have a vignette which is looking like this, which is adding a little bit of more texture inside our shot. Now let's go outside the box. Now I'm adding a new node here, and here I'm not actually using vignette in the traditional aspect, that is darkening. I'm actually using vignettes, or I'm actually using mask to enhance the brighter part of the image. So in order to do that, the same procedure, add a gradient tool and go to the color wheel, add midtones. Now you can see that there is a bright area coming up when I increase the midtones. I'm just increasing to the maximum extent so that I can see that where it's actually happening. And I just wanted to have some kind of a fake light coming from the windows, and just go to the and it I just want to make a fake light coming out of the windows and shining bright light on the dancer. Okay, now I've made this, the vignette looks cool, but it's kind of really having high midtones. I'm just reducing that midtones to my liking. Somewhat right here. Okay, now let's see. Now you can see that this is the image, the final image that we have actually made, and this is the image that we was having without any kind of vignettes. Look at the difference. It's kind of a day and night difference actually. Now you are actually making an image having a really high dynamic range. You have shadows which are really dark and you have highlights which are really high, which is not really possible in every camera. I think Cotton Bro here is shooting in Sony or Red. Most likely Sony because it's, I don't know. It may be different. I'm not really versed with that. Let's ask Cotton Bro if he ever meets me or I ever meet him. Okay. Now we have made this custom vignette here. Now this is much more of a tutorial that concerned about masks rather than vignettes, I know. But let's study this last step before we end this tutorial. That is taking vignettes to the next level. Okay, for that I'm adding another node, Control and S, and instead of using gradient or oval or circular tool, now I am actually using a custom mask. Now here you can see that there are windows and windows are pulling it and windows are letting lights in a square fashion. Okay. Now here we could actually have a mask like this. I'm just speeding up the video so that you don't have to, sit around here to see the whole masking. I'm just speeding up the video so that you are not bored about the boring masking thing here happening. So what I'm essentially doing is creating a fake light effect by utilizing the concept of vignettes in a really different way and utilizing the concept of masking, to be precise. Okay, our mask is done here and it looks kind of creepy. But let's go to the color tab and let's increase our midtones. What do we have? We have a really weird effect going on here. Okay, let's make it a little bit realistic. So in order to do that, you just need to increase the softness. And here, for me, I think if I increase the outside softness more, it will be more realistic. Sometimes you have to increase the inside softness. For that, you have to just, play the sliders here inside and outside. For me, I think you really don't need much of inside softness, but a lot more of outside softness. Adding a little bit more and increasing the softness a little bit. And voila. Let's see the video. Now, this is the final video that we have done with introducing vignette or using the concept of vignette to add a little bit of fake light. And let's see if we don't have any kind of vignettes. This is without the vignettes and this is with one. It's not really adding any value because it's having a little bit more of I'm just deleting that node and making this a little bit more interesting. I just don't want this much softness. Okay. Yes. And adding a little bit more of light. And if I want, I'm just adding a little tint on the light. I think a blue tint would satisfy a little bit more. Nah, tint is not a really good factor. But look at it right now. I'm just playing around with the softness to make it more realistic, because playing out with the parameters is the way to make a particular scene look really realistic. Now we have actually added a fake light inside the video, and this is with our fake light setup and this is without our fake light setup. It's pretty good. If you want, you could actually make this a little bit more interesting by adding a gradient here and enhancing the shadows there so that it will look a little bit realistic. 180, rotate 180, yes, and softness, yes, and reduce the midtones, yes. Now what do we have here? This is with the effect and this is without the effect. We have added a gradient, we have added a fake light. Now this is what we can use, or we can play with the vignette to our liking to add a little bit more texture to our scene, to drive our audience focus to wherever we need, and even make fake lights for our scene. So this is the end of the vignette tutorial, and if you like this video, definitely press that like button. And if you want to be updated on these kind of contents, which is kind of a in-depth content, I'm not actually trying to teach you a certain way to make an effect, but I'm trying to teach you the concept behind making each and every effect. So if you want these kind of videos, then definitely subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you in the next one.